Hi, I'm Chef George Mendez. I'm from Veranda Restaurant in Soho. And today I'm going to show you how to make pastéis de nata, which are Portuguese egg custard tarts that were first made by nuns and monks in the 19th century. So it's a puff pastry. If you're inclined to make your own from scratch, you can. This is a laminated, meaning it's a dough that has layers of butter in between all of the flour. So I'm going to roll this all the way down to about 1/8 of an inch thick, trying to keep it in a square. So to talk a little bit about what exactly a pastel de nata is, it's a tart with a crispy pastry shell, and inside is a custard, and it's cooked all together in an extremely hot oven. The pastry on the outside cooks golden brown, nice and crispy, and then you have a set custard in the middle with a slightly bruleed charred top from the high heat. This was a confectionery that was first made by nuns and monks in a monastery in the Belém suburb of Lisbon back in the 19th century. So it was a way of utilizing leftover egg yolks because they were using the egg whites to starch their uniforms. So we're getting pretty close to where we need to be. And you don't have to be so concerned about the edges being too straight because then you can trim that off. The important is that it's a really even layer thickness-wise. That's it. We are where we need to be. We're gonna brush the dough lightly with some water to allow us to roll it up and have it stick onto itself again. Then I'll start on one end and begin to roll the dough. And now, since it's gotten really soft and really pliable from rolling it out, you want to refrigerate it for at least 30 minutes before you start cutting it and putting it into the mold. And this is something actually you can do ahead of time and keep it frozen in your freezer up to a month. Okay guys, so now we're gonna make the actual nata, which is the custard filling that goes into the pastry. I'm gonna basically start with making a simple syrup with water, the sugar, and a cinnamon stick that I'm just gonna break in half to release the flavor. And we're gonna bring that up to a simmer to dissolve the sugar. Nata actually means cream or custard. This is a dual meaning, but the nata, pastel de nata, meaning it's a pastry of cream, pastry of custard. So one pot will have my syrup working, and then the second step, I'm gonna heat up our milk. My relationship with these tarts started as a 7 to 9-year-old in Danbury, Connecticut. I was born to a Portuguese community, and there was a Portuguese bakery down the street called the International Bake Shop. I first had one around 7 to 9 years old. I didn't like them. I honestly did not like them. They were kind of boring. They were soggy. Fast forward about 12 years later, my first trip to Lisbon, except this time when I ate them, they were warm, they were dusted with cinnamon, and the pastry was actually crispy. Instant, like, holy shit, these things are delicious. And I remember sitting down at a little table next to them and eating about 6 pieces and a glass of port wine, and the rest is history. So our simple syrup is ready and our milk is hot as well. Start with our flour and make a little slurry out of the rest of the milk. This is a really important step because if you were just add flour all at one time to all the milk, it's end up with a lot of clumps. And now I'm gonna add the warm milk. So it is a very simple recipe, but it remains super important to be focused on every little step because all the little details plays an integral part on the final product. So now I'm gonna separate my eggs. So I have my egg yolks, place them in this large bowl. Gonna slowly add the warm milk. Again, it's a very important step that I use a spatula to clean up the bowl that has all of the flour, because a little bit might stick to the bottom. I'm gonna add the simple syrup that's infused with the cinnamon. So it's actually okay to drop the cinnamon right into the mixture. So now I'm gonna add this mixture back into the pot and cook it over low heat until it thickens slightly, about 5 to 10 minutes. So this is where you're actually cooking the custard and the egg yolks and the flour are combining. It's gonna come up to about 180 degrees Fahrenheit roughly, just below boil, and you'll have a nice thick custard. My son is 18 months old right now. My wife won't allow us to give him that much sugar yet. Soon. You might have to wait till the same age range as me, maybe 7 years old. When I first tried them, no, it's too long. I won't let him suffer that much without trying these guys. So our filling is ready. Our dough is chilled, and now we're gonna bring the dough out and cut it into pieces and fill the molds. So these are the actual pastéis molds. They're really important because of the way they're made. They're really thin, and they have a nice slope on the sides of them. Very different from a muffin pan. You could use a muffin pan, but the distribution in the oven is not gonna be the same, the heat distribution, and it's a different size slope. So as mentioned, the pastéis de nata were invented by Portuguese, and then there were a variety of mercenaries that traveled throughout the world. Portuguese were known as seafarers, and we discovered many lands. And fast forward a number of years, mercenaries were arriving in Hong Kong, in different parts of China, South Africa, and began spreading and showing people how to make these tarts, of which then the Chinese began to adapt the recipes and put their own little twist. Therefore, now we have different egg tarts all over the world that are variations of the original. As you can see, it's really cool. It looks like a pinwheel. You got all the different layers of butter intertwined with the flour water mixture in there. So the dough is really well laminated, the pastry turn that we use. And now we're gonna use our thumbs and fingers and spread it out, pushing it along the bottom part, and then using your thumbs and constantly rotating. These actually work out really well when you're done like a day or two ahead of time, where you actually put the dough into the mold, spread them out like so, and then freeze them. So at this point, you're ready to fill the tart shells here with the nata or the actual custard, but I always prefer to re-chill them or freeze them for a good 30 minutes to make sure that the butter is not too melted. So I'm gonna go ahead and just strain the mixture. It's already nice and smooth. This is just a last measure to make sure that there's no undissolved clumps. We are now gonna fill the molds with our custard filling. Go just under the very top edge. While they're cooking, they actually souffle. You be really careful that you don't overfill them or else they will go over. A real important step is before you make the recipe and the day that you're gonna cook these guys, is make sure you turn your oven all the way up to 500 degrees or as high as it goes, because the last thing you wanna do is put these into a cold oven or an oven that you just turned on. They cook pretty fast, but if your oven is not at the right temperature from the point you put them in, they're not gonna come out right. Simply stated, sorry. So we're gonna carefully place these in the oven. Our oven is at 500 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're gonna cook them about 7 to 10 minutes. We'll peek into the oven around 7 minutes, see how they're doing. So our egg tarts are out of the oven now. We're gonna let them cool for about 5 minutes so we can remove them from the molds. Dust them with cinnamon powder. I think our nuns would be pretty damn happy. So I'm gonna go ahead and try one of these guys. They're just, oh wow. Woo. So delicious, nice and crispy. The inside's a nice custard. They're not too sweet. They're perfect. Nice crunchy shell and nice custard that's set. So guys, there you have it, the Portuguese egg custard tarts, or pastéis de Belém. Click the link below for the recipe, or just come on over to Veranda Restaurant. We're probably making about 100 of these a day. Munchies! A way of utilizing egg whites instead of starching uniforms would be to apply them in a classical French technique of making a salt and egg white dough for crusting fish and baking it in the oven.